I definitely think he has the happiest workplace in Kenya. I went to visit and everyone was so happy. I'm like, what is going on here?
So if at the end of the year in your company there is an option of giving a bonus and let's say doing something that makes people happy, which one would you do?
Both. 2020, when we had our first staff retreat at the end of the year, and one of our colleagues had a 3-month-old baby, and she's like, "Oh yes, I know I'm still on maternity, but I'd love to come." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." About 60% of the high school report cards in Kenya are processed on Zeraki. So when you receive either a text message from school or a report card, it's probably printed on Zeraki. We serve about 3.2 million students across Africa. The second thing we do is a digital learning platform, Zeraki Learning. Every week we have our executive committee meeting, the exco for the company, and a day later we post the minutes, so that everybody in the team can see that.
Oh, wow.
We do the same thing with the managers, and it doesn't matter whether you are entry-level employee or whether you're a manager, unless it's something that is confidential with something to do with staff members, that's when we deliberate about not sharing.
Fair enough. And also, anyone who wants to work in a shit workplace, sometimes I'm just
How many people are stuck in workplaces?
very many.
Yeah.
But
Babe,
if you had a choice, you'd be like, if you are a CEO, you'd be like, let me try make this the best place to work. Honestly.
The work of a CEO is to drive you nuts so that you make more money so he can earn his bonuses.
But you see, it's one of the things is about this radical transparency. We call it managing through trust. That means we share all our metrics, we share all our context, we share all the information with everyone. And so we shared even our bank balances with everybody, including the interns. And
Your bank balances.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is how much balances we have in the company. Maybe first case of COVID in Kenya around March 10th, March 16th, schools are closed. We realize we have about 6 weeks before we run out of money.
Yeah.
And so we need everyone to agree to a salary cut. And within 10 days, every single person in the company had agreed to between 30 and 70% pay cuts. Got a lot of funding, Kenyan-wise, from from friends and family. Okay. So we raised about 30 million shillings.
Kenyan shillings.
You have rich friends.
No, I have many friends who believed in us.
Do you have an open position I can apply for?
That's the same thing I asked.
Yes.
You want to come work with anything. Hey, welcome back to Startup Soko, where we bring you the, top founders and startups in Kenya. And before we start with the episode, I'd like to, just call out and ask people to, subscribe. We had a goal of reaching 10K subscribers this year. We are so far from it, but we've definitely grown. So thank you to all those subscribers. But if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And also, just donate to us. We bring you all these people. Sometimes we get $3. Be nice to
get $100.
$100, something. But I'll switch over to do some intros. My co-host,
Mr. Black in the house.
Karibu. What's been you?
Work until you die.
Okay. Alrighty. And we have Isaac.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Wangari, for having me here.
You're welcome. Who's Isaac?
Wow. Yeah, I rehearsed, but... So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zeraki. Mm-hmm. I'll tell us a little bit about Zeraki later. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So I'm also the president emeritus, Harvard Club of Kenya.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. I needed to say that. And then I'm a dormant board member of the Alumni Executive Committee of Maung High School.
Oh, nice. Are you into the Mangu?
Well. Yes, the Mangu.
The Mangu.
The only school that has had a sitting president and vice president at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
And then I think the third thing I would say I'm also the leader of the Young Professionals Ministry in the church that I go to. That's the New Life SDA church. So I think like those four things are things that mean a lot to me.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think he has, like, I don't know, I definitely think he has the happiest workplace in Kenya. I went to visit and everyone was so happy. I'm like, what is going on here?
Do they have bouncing castles, teddy bears?
No, none of that. It's just happy people willing to help, smiling, offer, just like, there's just that, it's a good vibe environment.
And
So,
there's a swing in the backyard.
oh yeah, there is a swing. Then you should put a bouncy castle.
Is it true that people say that the happiest employees are the ones who are paid the most?
I don't think so. I think EdTech doesn't have a lot of money, but I think like productive people are very happy. It's a really great team.
So if at the end of the year in your company there is an option of giving a bonus and let's say doing something that makes people happy, which one would you do?
Both.
No, I'm sure a lot of people was like, just pay me the.
That's how he gets a happy workplace. Both.
No, but I mean, like, to be honest, so we haven't paid a bonus for the last 2 years because we haven't made profits in the last 2 years. But what we do is we have a team retreat where we bring all the team together.
And their family
doubles up-
members.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know whether everyone would be happy about that, but go ahead.
I mean, not everyone brings their family members, but
Just
some do. Oh, yeah.
If you want.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to.
There are people who want that boundary created.
Imagine if you're just like a mom and you've just given birth and like, like you don't want to be separated from your child and there's a staff retreat happening. It'd be nice to have that option.
Yes.
I suppose
that's very
so.
inclusive. Yeah, you see it.
No, I mean, I could try it. And I think like the first time it happened, I think in 2020, when we had our first staff retreat at the end of the year, and one of our colleagues had a 3-month-old baby, and she's like, oh, yes, I know I'm still on maternity, but I'd love to come. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Come with your nanny. And well, I mean, the nanny bailed out the morning of the ride, so she ended up coming with her baby. And we had like one who had 9-month-old son came with a nanny. So it's something that we try, creating just that community that's just not including the team members, but everybody around. And I think like still on the same thing, we realized during COVID time that everybody working from home means that there was conversations that was taking place that included not just our employees, but their loved ones. I remember this specific conversation where one of my colleagues says, there's someone who wants to contribute, is it okay? And the husband says, oh, may I? And just like ends up chipping in. So,
So on company stuff.
yeah.
Okay,
But you see,
that's
it's-
interesting.
Actually, yeah, it's interesting. But if you're thinking about it, during COVID, everybody doesn't have a huge house. So even though we were pretending that these conversations, other people are not participating, they were. And so it was just like saying, I feel comfortable enough to ask to
But
chip in.
but that's a true thing which we don't accept, because if you have a problem with work and you think your spouse, your partner is able to help, they're the first person you take it to them like,
Absolutely.
Can you design this for me? Can you do this for
Exactly.
me? And then
Yeah.
And then we all pretend that, no, this is confidential. Nobody has seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would buy that from a lot of companies are like, for example, data.
Yes.
The data is our true secret. We can't share it. We can't. It's our IP and all that. Most cases have shown that, and I don't know whether you believe in that, that it's your execution. It's how your customer services, your customer experience, and all that is what makes you. You can give a whole company your recipe of what you do,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and they get it wrong, or they don't get it the same way you do. So, do you believe that by now having other people contribute to your company, they're not stealing your secrets, they're not diluting or invading your space?
I think like you can answer that on several levels because I mean, what you're talking about, your DNA is not your data is not your DNA, and I think it's something that Toyota has been practicing for a while, or at least the version of the story I heard. They have the Toyota way, and they will invite other people to come and learn what they were doing to make their cars affordable yet really high quality. And they will do this not just with non-competitors, but also with their competitors. So theoretically speaking, everybody should be able to copy them and be as good as they are.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. It helps the others learn, and grow with you. But what I've come to learn is it also strengthens the ecosystem or the DNA inside of you that leads to, let's say, such decision making. Because on the one hand, yes, they're coming to learn from you, but with every single person that you're explaining your way of doing stuff, it becomes even more embedded. And when you talk about the DNA, not just like the visible stuff, the processes, the structures, the data, but it's about the soft stuff, the relationships. So in a way, if you're thinking about the colleague whose husband participates in the conversation, the mother who brings her 3-month-old to the company retreat, there's a common thread around it that all these people trust. There's a shared trust. There's a mutual community amongst these people, and that therefore means that if data is privileged, they will treat it in a privileged way. If it's data that can be shared, they can share it appropriately, and so the DNA that makes it work goes beyond the specific manifestation of it, whether it's the process or the structure or the specific data. And so that's something that we think about deliberately and think about it comprehensively that way.
I'm already amazed.
I know.
Yeah, because in the course of doing work,
Yes.
right? Sometimes you either have information from a previous company or some other things you do, and they treat that information as if it's a gold mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you come to realize like
Nah.
it's not.
Yeah,
not.
It's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if your product doesn't work, if your customer experience is bad, if there's no proper communication, those are the things that are going to break your company.
Oh, absolutely.
Not that someone learned, this is how you implemented, this is how your tech stack
Yeah.
works. So I'm already amazed by that. Do you think you'll still have that if the company grows and becomes maybe... How many employees do you have?
We have about 115 employees.
Whoa, that's big.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, that's big. I was about to say, what would happen if you get to 100 employees?
I've been there.
Well, for that.
Yeah.
But do you think as you scale, you'll still maintain that culture, that openness, and inviting other people within the company?
Yeah, I think like we practice a radical manifestation of that openness culture. And so we did like a culture deck for our company in 2019, and it was very influenced by the Netflix deck. And Netflix is very famously open. And the same question that was posed to Netflix was, what will happen when you become a public company? Are you going to share your financials or your data with your employees? Because if anyone trades on this, then that's a legal issue. And so like, no, we're not going to change who we are because of a timing milestone. And so that's something that, we also genuinely believe in that. So every week we have our executive committee meeting, the exco for the company. And a day later we post the minutes, like, so that everybody in the team can see that.
Oh, wow.
We do the same thing like with the managers. And it doesn't matter whether you are entry-level employee or whether you're a manager, unless it's something that is confidential, with like something to do with staff members, that's when we deliberate about like not sharing.
Not sharing.
It.
Fair enough.
How about
Yes.
you post everyone's salary on a board?
No, we don't do that. But once you have like the salary scales and the salary scales are very well known, everybody will know about it. So we don't like deliberately try to mask it.
Yeah.
We don't deliberately try to hide it. We're not going to tell no one that we're not going to share this information. So my presumption is everybody will eventually know that you are engineering level 1,
Yeah.
you're engineering level 2. And that forced us recently to say, when we're doing our recruitment, we will post what the salary scales for that position is.
Oh, wow.
So that before you walk in and before you apply, does this work for me?
Yeah.
Is it something that's going to work for us? And so presumably when you walk in, everybody knows what you're going to be earning and that like stuff. So we don't really try to mask that information. but also like it feels like very distant or very idealistic, but it also worked out really well for us. I mentioned that we did our culture deck in December 2019. And one of the things is about this radical transparency. We call it managing through trust. That means we share all our metrics, we share all our context, we share all the information with everyone. So when you're asking you to do something, you know
have everything.
you have everything. And we somewhat believed that 2020 was going to be different. So much that, I mean, the book that we read for the retreat, in preparation for the retreat, was Only the Paranoid Survive. This great book written by Andy Grove. And so we were modeling all these scenarios that this could work. And so we shared even like our bank balances with everybody, including the interns. And
Your bank balances.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
this is how much balances we have in the company. And then come March 2020, March 16th, first case of COVID in Kenya around March 10th.
Yeah,
March
yeah, yeah.
16th, schools are closed. And we need, looking at our bank balances, we realize we have about 6 weeks before we run out of money.
Yeah.
And so we need everyone to agree to a salary cut. And within 10 days, every single person in the company had agreed to be between 30 and 70% pay cut.
Wow.
A few people were like, okay, I'm going to stay with my parents so I can get an extra 10% cut.
Oh, wow.
But if I'm thinking about it, it's because we were very transparent about
Yeah.
so everybody didn't think that there's something that we're trying to hide in this. And just one thing to add to this, at the time, the Minister of Education said that schools are only going to be closed for 2 months. The Minister for Education was a medical doctor. So they had every reason to believe what the medical doctor is saying.
Yeah.
But we, as the leadership, tell them, we think that
be longer.
this is going to be 3 to 6 months on a realistic basis.
Yeah.
6 to 9 months
Worst case.
And they believed us. But I think it's just because of that openness is why they were able to believe us when the minister was saying something different. So I think it works.
Amazing.
Do you have an open position I can apply for?
That's the same thing I asked you.
yes.
I want to come up with anything.
Honestly, so we try, because we really care about the culture, we tend to hire young.
Chris.
I thought I was young.
Yeah, you're young at heart.
Oh, yeah.
So we tend to hire.
My feelings have been...
I've been hurt.
I've been hurt. So.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, but it's really, because again, Andy Grove talks about it. It talks about organizations with a high CUS, so complexity, uncertainty, ambiguity. And also, like in our space, we are. I mean, we don't have other educational technology companies that have grown so large. So we really need to come up with our own unique way of doing stuff. And given that culture is also like a really strong thing for us, essentially means we need to get people to be embedded or grow into this culture. And the older they are, I mean, in terms of like years of experience, the harder it is for them to fit into this.
Yeah.
So we lean very heavily towards hiring young and growing.
So you have the Gen Zs.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And they're amazing.
I think that's true.
Yes.
But I would like to add a counterpoint to it.
Yes,
Yeah. While when people grow older, they are less inclined to jump into a culture. There are the kind of, at least ones who have nurtured their craft and they know what they do.
Yes.
I remember one guy telling me, "Don't tell me anything else. Give me your data and tell me your problems. Leave me alone."
That's true.
I'll come and give you a solution. So they're more they're less on cultures thing. They're about delivery. I know I have these things to deliver. They're committed to delivering it, and they might have a better solution, but they're not team players. They're not, especially if you're senior devs who have 15 years experience and like that. They're like, we want to go to a team meeting and talk about feelings. They're like, just give me booze, just give me booze. Let's meet. Let's talk over booze. We meet tomorrow when we are coding or when the solution is there. I feel I don't know whether you've been in a position where you feel like I need a senior dev. I don't need anyone who has in this cultural thing. I need someone to just
Get it
hammer
there,
this problem, get it done.
That's right. I'd actually say like it's the opposite, where
Yeah.
I've been like, I wish I started this earlier, where I started nurturing people earlier. And the reason for that is, let me see. I'll say it depends on the organization. If the deliverables are very, let's say, numbers based, or let's say the example that comes to mind is, let's say, the finance sector.
Yep.
It's just like the trade, or let's say investment bankers, the trades that you do, we don't really care so much about
Yep.
whether we happy. We're happy when the money hits our account.
Yeah.
So we don't really need to collaborate as heavily with other people.
Yeah.
So, or maybe like an army. Yes, I think it's kind of like command driven.
Yeah.
You still need the people to like each other. I mean, to watch it, to watch each other's back. So I think the level of culture or the importance of the culture depends on the kind of like organization, what the organization does, maybe the stage of evolution of the company. In our case, we realize that we're building something for the long term in a sector that's very slow moving.
Yep.
And in a sector that it's not just like doing well, but it's not doing good. It's about also doing well, in that it's not just like the profitability metrics that matter, but the students, the parents whom we serve, are they getting like educational outcomes that you're getting out of this? So you need more mission-driven people than people who get excited with the number of zeros in their bank account.
Yep.
And to be able to solicit the best performance from this mission-driven, from such a community, and you're not able to, because of the industry, you're not able to pay them a lot, you need to find something else that motivates them. And it's not really just like finding something that motivates them, but it's also a matter of selecting for people who are motivated by the kind of problem that you're going to be solving.
Yeah.
So I think like it's just like an end-to-end thing. Who do you recruit? And are they excited by what you're recruiting them to do?
But
and then how do you compensate them to fit that?
I tend to agree and disagree a bit.
Yeah, sure.
And you mentioned that people who are mission driven, that they buy into the vision of the company. There's a good culture.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you don't make enough money, you're not going to survive.
That's
This is just it, right? So I feel like culture mission is an addition. Like, first of all, need to make money.
Yeah.
Once you make money, then you can have mission driven purpose, culture for that. Because if you come in with culture and mission driven, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. But if you're mission and culture driven and you're not money driven, you're likely to go to the ground. But if you're money driven and you're not culture driven, you may not be the most awesome company to work for. You might be a very stressful place to work for, but the company is likely to survive. And perhaps after the company has survived, then it can be handed over to people who can build. I like the way Michael Joseph said that he was a wartime CEO.
Yeah.
He's not a peacetime CEO. While Bob Collymore is a peacetime CEO, he's not a wartime CEO. He can't, when things are going wrong, he can't make the bad decisions that are there. So while I think what you were saying makes sense, when it comes to survivability of companies, they'd rather fire all people and just bring those numbers people. And all the companies that I've, from my experience, when the companies have this, especially startups, which have this upheavals, and last year when funding had dried, it is the numbers people who are being kept. They're like, how do we get profitable? When all startups, how do we get profitable? They don't ask, how do we build happy people? They're like, we don't care whether you're happy or not. Can this company survive? And that's when your nice investors turn very nasty to you. They're like, turn this boat around. And all those retreats that you used to do, they get chopped down. All those Friday drinking in the office or wellness Wednesday and things like that, all of them go off the roof. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I mean, No.
I mean, I
And I mean,
don't
like,
agree fully with you.
Exactly. So, I mean, the example you gave, Safaricom, probably one of the most capitalized companies Kenya has ever seen.
True.
I mean, really favorable government regulations because
True.
it's partly also owned by the government. But I mean, the second most profitable company in Kenya, Equity Bank, probably the most culture-driven organization,
Really?
large organization that we know.
Really?
I mean,
He used to work at Equity, so maybe that's
I
why.
mean, it's the only organization that could say you're a member. I mean,
No, no,
if
no.
the customer is so attached to the whole organization to the point that they call themselves a member, try to imagine what.
I would say, and
Yes,
so
sure.
that by advertising the company as being a member, and if you ask somebody, I think they usually a yearly survey, like which company are you most like, do you really want to work for?
Yeah.
I think Safaricom was number one for a few years. There was East African Breweries, KCB, and then Equity Bank was around there. And I think I actually even did an article about this,
Yeah.
that those companies is not because they have good ethos and culture. It's because people earn more money there.
And the benefits.
There are more benefits. There are more things. So at the end of the day, you can have all, just do an experiment and ask people, do I give you a bonus or do a staff retreat?
But just that's a point. Like if you get mercenaries and you ask them to eat culture,
Yeah.
I mean, no, they're not going to be happy. But if you get like mercenaries or at least like people who are not like very mission driven and you give them extrinsic motivators, they'll be really happy. So maybe just like a reflection of who's being surveyed. But when it comes to an organization like Equity, even when I was joining Equity in 2009, it was very clear that you join Equity if you in it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not it, then you leave within 6 months. But
Or
if you
if-
stay
or
beyond the
if-
6 months, you'll probably stay for
Or if
a
in,
decade.
if the culture does not fit you.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then the people who ended up staying in Equity, I think like I would say like the reason why it has like the best cost model in the banking sector is because the people who work there are so fired up. Those guys will work so hard. Like they'll
Would you say that about the tellers and there's been
Actually,
huge scandal around that?
but there's a counterpoint to this.
yeah, sure.
Because, and I think 2 years back, I was doing some work for Insurance X.
Yes.
And we were having a chat with the CEO because I was doing some training. And I don't know how we ended up the conversation. We started talking about how long people stay.
Yeah.
Right? And I was telling me about tech, how people move within 2 years and things like that. And then I was telling him how, perhaps you have people who you've been with for long, they have good institutional memory. And then they're like, nah, it's because these people can't be employed anywhere else. Or because they're not competent enough to get jobs everywhere else. That's why they're sticking with us. So people sticking doesn't necessarily mean they buy into the culture, they're driving everything else.
But the numbers,
But it's because
the numbers.
I would say this. I would say this, yeah. Look at what's a good example here. If you like war, I'll give you an example of World War II. I think Russia lost the most number of soldiers.
That's right.
About 20 million, right? They won the war at a heavy cost,
Yes.
right? Even some military analysts say that the kill ratio was 20-1. For one dead German soldier, there were 20 dead Russian soldiers on the other side. While there was victory, it came at a very heavy cost, right? While the numbers are there, it might come at a very heavy personal cost.
But the employees love it.
Okay, I've never worked for that, so I can't speak for that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the longevity of an employee is not a very good enough metric to say that they bought into the culture. And because someone can just argue, like this CEO said, it's because these people are not employable, anyone else. And if you use the principle, someone said something that is stable
Yes.
has higher internal risk than something that is volatile.
Yeah.
In the sense that something that is as life is volatile. Or let's say like today you earn 1,000 shillings per month. Next week you earn 1 million. Next week you earn 50,000. Because your salary is very varied, you start planning for that unevenness, right?
Yeah.
If I'm just a salaried employee who earns 100,000 and then boom, COVID hits me, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. So also that movement, someone say it's better than something that looks very stable. And some people argue that something that's very stable has a lot of hidden risk that you don't see, right?
Yeah.
That hidden risk can be exhausted employees, can be people who can't go anywhere. It can be so many other things which are not just reflective on culture. And I think why people like startups, and
Yeah,
this is just
yeah.
my hypothesis, is because openness that you talked
Yep.
about, you can bring yourself to work
Yep.
and you buy into whatever you want to do, as opposed to corporates where you never bring yourself.
Very rigid.
There is a very structure where you have to fit in. It's like a template. They cut you off a template.
No, I mean, I'll tell you, like, in so much as it's true, like, longevity is not a good proxy for whether people like it or not.
Yeah.
If you look at the other metrics that you talked about, the bottom line, I mean, profitability, profit growth, the cost ratios.
Yeah.
I mean, all those sorts of like things where I would say other organizations need to create the structure, the processes to be able to manage a lot of things. Equity is probably able to survive on
True.
doing it without necessarily creating the organizational structure for it. It's more like saying in your house, you don't have rules written on the walls because everybody knows what they need to do. But if that culture is not as strong, then you now need to replace it with a lot of rules and a lot of processes. So it does play a role.
What did you replicate whatever you learned?
Sorry. Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of lessons to that. So, and then you're talking about how, let's say, it's not easy for a big corporate to bring in this culture aspect. Also, like in 2009, when I was joining Equity again, I don't know whether they still do it. One of the most uncomfortable questions they would ask, I mean, you walk into the interview room and they're like, so tell us about yourself.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family. Tell us about your siblings. Tell me about your parents. I'm like, wait, I came to interview for a banking role. I didn't come to do that. And they
honestly.
used to say they hired 100% on attitude and then they trained for skill. And this was like before Netflix came along. And in our job evaluations, I mean, the performance appraisals, there'll be questions like, are you happy and enthusiastic? So just like, but you see, those are like all these markers for culture. So even though it was already a big corporate at that point in time, they were doing their best to ensure that.
You've changed my viewpoint on equity.
I would love to hear. We should have what's his James Mashari and have a chat.
James Mwangi.
Surely.
Yes.
Chris.
My apologies, James Mwangi. No, not Mashari.
Jesus.
I was thinking when you mentioned about when you come in and they hire for attitude and then train for work.
For skills, yeah.
Skills.
For skills. I would say this works the same as military, right?
Oh, yeah.
Military, when you need low-skilled work, I just need people who can comply and shoot, right?
Yes.
That works, right? I just need tellers who show at 7:30, they receive the money, they smile, they count it, they put it back, right? That's perfect, right? When you are hiring startup-ish, you need a good blend of, I need someone who's well-skilled and also has a good attitude.
Yep.
So you need that balance between skill. Reason is, I'm not quite sure if you ask, let me not use equity because let's say big corporate, let them voluntarily come and work on a weekend or on a Sunday. I'm sure 90% would say no. And startup, you want someone who you can break their holiday and tell them, hey, this thing is not working. And they'll be happy enough that they know why they should do it.
So that's their 100% attitude.
Yes.
Yep.
And they have the skills to come and sort that problem out in the weekend because on Monday, we need to be back in business.
Again, I'll push back on that because, I mean, there are specific areas where the skill levels that's required for the startups is really high.
Yeah.
But in many cases, you don't even know what skills you need. So you end
that's
up
so true.
hiring generalists.
Yeah.
So I would say hire for intelligence, not for skills.
Okay, maybe intelligence is a better word for it because someone who can also learn pretty fast, which is something in my limited experience in corporate. It's not there.
It's not there.
That quick learning, that intelligence, and that comes from mostly, in my opinion, whatever I tend to say that whatever you do out of work is
Yeah.
what really matters. What books do you read? Do you go to conferences? Do you subscribe to some societies? You find like in the corporate world, it is me and my work. Once I leave work, I leave it at the whatever at the entrance.
I see.
I go home. I'm somebody else until tomorrow.
Yeah.
But somebody else would like, I'm not satisfied how I solved that problem. So before sleeping, you pull up your laptop or you pull up a book, read a thing or two about it. And I would tell you this because Netflix
Yes.
and even Facebook nowadays, they don't hire entry-level engineers. They
I
don't.
see.
They say they don't have time to train you. They don't have the time to show you the ropes. And if you've ever taken any interview at that level,
yeah.
if they just have a sense that your skill level is not, they're looking for independent. I remember, okay, throw somewhere there. I interviewed for Facebook a while back and I failed miserably.
Was it like on the skills or the attitude?
Probably attitude.
The response I got was like, you've never worked for an internet company, so you don't know what to look for. And they say they'll call them levels. I think L6 is someone who is independent, who can find a problem, solve it by themselves. Then there is like L5, who they can solve a problem, but they need somebody else. Then there is L4. So once they interview you, and it's almost 6 to 7 rounds of interviews.
Yes.
Yeah. They put you in that scale so that they can know, are you a person who just writes code?
Yeah.
Are you somebody who can go look at a product, find a problem, solve it? Are you somebody who can go find funding, convince the company to invest in something, put a team together and solve it? So they put you in that scale. And if there's a level, if you drop, they don't hire you.
I think if a company has been there for a while, then they have the capacity to have internal, or rather they have the internal capability to mentor or bring in like new people within the team. So let's say if you've nurtured your engineers well, 5 years down the line, they'll be good mid-level senior engineers, or 10 years down the line, they'll be good senior engineers.
Until
But
Google
at
comes and wipes all
until
of
Google
them.
comes and wipes all of them, and then you have to start again.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the challenges are if you're starting a company on the word go. I mean, if you're starting like a fintech right now, you're not going to get a risk analyst straight
No.
from campus. You're going to
Yeah.
get someone with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
I think it just becomes much harder to fix the culture problem. Because when someone walks in straight from campus, you have more opportunity
Blank
to mold them
slate, yeah.
in the way
that makes
you'd like
sense.
them to be. And for the senior member in the team, it takes a lot more deliberateness in the recruiting process to know that they're not just like a fit in terms of their skill, but they're also like a fit in terms of the culture that they're bringing in.
Yeah,
So what's your youngest or oldest person in your team?
Youngest, oldest.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest. I'm not going to say my age.
Don't be shy.
No, this is public.
we can just dig on LinkedIn.
Oh, wait, yes. You can dig on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we can do the math. Right? And the youngest, so what's the youngest you?
Oh, yeah. So I'm actually 40. So I think 40 is there.
You're young.
Yeah.
We're like age mates.
Exactly.
It's nice. Yeah.
And
think that
yet you
youngest-
said I was young?
You're the youngest.
And yet you said I was
Imagine
old?
he called you old.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm validated.
Too many years of experience outside our company.
No, you're much older than me, so.
Oh, yeah. I think the youngest probably maybe 24 or something like that.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, straight off of campus.
Yes. They're so happy. Anyway, that's where this conversation
Do
started.
you think that the happiness has to do that they're young and they've not met the realities of life?
I think so.
Not really.
Because marriage brings its problems and children. And
I mean, aren't you happy, Chris? As
statistics show that a lot of married people are not happy.
Although I think like it's more about being deliberate about the experience you create for the people that you're working with. And I think a lot of workplaces assume that we live in two different buckets. That is the work bucket and that is the life bucket. And anything that's happening in your life bucket is for you to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's happening in your life, I mean, the work bucket is what we worry about. But people navigate those two spaces. And we can create spaces that are thoughtful about not just like what you're doing when you walk inside the office, but what you're doing when you walk outside
That's
the
it.
office.
Yeah. I have mixed opinions or feelings about it.
Yeah.
I know in Japan, especially in the 80s when they were ruling the world in electronics, they had this thing that you join a company and it becomes your life.
Yes.
And most people would never move to any other company. The company provide anything for you, a house, a car, even sometimes paying for your kids' school fees, and your kids get absorbed into the company once they're done with their studies. And for a lot of people, it was great because I don't have to worry about everything. The company will take care of everything. The problem with that is once profit starts dwindling, such
Yeah.
things, they start cutting them off because they're like, okay, we're now thinking about money. Because if you look at all financial meltdowns, if you start
Yeah.
from the 20s, all the things up to 2008 and all that, when there's a lot of money, companies are more welcoming. They're more.
Yeah, but Chris, imagine if you worked for a company that like gave you all of this, like make sure like they're really taking into account your life, like you'd work
Okay.
super hard to try and make sure that company is successful, and you would.
I would say this. I would say this. If I was 24 years old,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
After so many years of working, there's a saying that professionals don't need motivation to work. If you're a professional, you
Yep.
know you have a responsibility. The same way if you have a child,
You need to take care of them.
whether you had a shitty day, whether you had
Yeah.
you just have to take care of that child, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems as a very wrong thing. And sometimes you could be suffering in your personal life. You could be having crisis. You're divorced for the sixth time. And, all those things. But you need to show up and work. Even the most nicest companies, if at some point your personal problems become too much, they're gonna say we're gonna have a conversation. And in some cases, we are all humans. If people start knowing your personal problems, they perceive you in a different way. They perceive you, I don't know. But if you just show up, do your work, and go away, and then later on people discover that you are going through hell while they're like, whoa.
I mean, like, there might be that assumption that it costs a lot to offer these perks, and sometimes it does. But I mean, I think like when you come to our office, I think it was they were eating ugali and
Lunch,
skuma or
yeah.
something like that. I mean, providing ugali and skuma is not that expensive, but it makes all the difference. And so that can also be a metaphor for lots of other things that you do. When you take like your team for a retreat, it doesn't need to be like a
Super
hotel
fancy,
in
yeah.
South Coast.
Yeah.
It can be somewhere that's.
That's
Exactly.
perfectly okay. I don't think you need to.
But we're not thinking about this. Actually, I mean, we're a commercial company. We're not thinking about doing this because we want to make people happy. We're doing this because we want to
How productive.
have productivity, and the numbers show for it. So it's actually good business that we're doing.
We should do an experiment where we just take mercenaries
Yeah,
and we take happy people and say, okay, I know as a mercenary, the only downside is you can't. Mercenaries are people who do short term work.
exactly.
They're not there to
For the long term.
For the long term, they're there to solve a problem that exists within that time. They solve it, and that's it. And their usefulness is done. So they can be productive, but a very short period. While I think happy people might be not as productive as the mercenaries,
Yeah.
but they can sustain that productivity for years. I feel like that's the outcome of that experiment is likely.
I mean,
to be.
it's more like saying like I don't have anything about Safaricom because I've never worked there.
Yeah.
But just like from this public profile, what we're saying is Safaricom didn't do much about their culture. To use like your example, it was about numbers. Oh. They tried to soften that image when they became a big corporate. So
Disclaimer.
disclaimer.
I worked at Safaricom.
Oh, you did? Yes. Also, would you like to?
During Bob's reign.
Yes.
I think Safaricom is the company that takes care of the employees the most
Yeah, I'd imagine.
in this company, in this country.
Would you say they have a really strong culture?
Oh, they
Or is it just like, is it about, I mean, there's a difference between like perks and culture.
No, they definitely do. Even they, sometimes
the
we talk
perks-
to colleagues from, you're like, you guys have drunk the Kool-Aid. Have you ever been to companies like, wow, all of you have like,
I think
it's been
the
something.
perks,
Yeah.
I don't know about now with the new CEO, but during Bob's time, I think there's no company that came anywhere close to culture.
Yeah.
Anyway, even Bob had a CEO Friday where he said anyone in the company can just walk into his office. And
nice.
Fantastic. No, I really love that because it doesn't cost Bob to invite you to his office.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
culture doesn't need to cost
yeah, that's
anything.
what I'm saying. At that time,
Yeah.
when Bob was there, Safaricom had the best. No one came anywhere close to it. Right?
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
that probably contributed to the profits that
Yep.
Safaricom.
Oh yeah,
made.
it was ridiculous profits for the very first time. But I think like the thing about culture is you don't do it because you want to make money. I think it's often you do it because you care so much about it that even if you were not making money, you'll still do it.
And also, anyone who wants to work in a shit workplace? Like, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just
How
like,
many people are stuck in shit workplaces?
very many. But, but like,
But
if you had a choice, you'd be like, if you are a CEO, you'd be like, let me try make this the best place to work. Like, honestly.
The work of a CEO is to drive you nuts so that you make more money, so he can earn his bonuses.
But you see, like it's a value. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a values conversation because at some point it'll actually cost. In some cases, it'll cost a lot to have a good workplace.
Yeah.
and it'll cost less to have a.
But I don't
Bad
think a
workplace.
good workplace
The question
is
is-
expensive. It's like as what you're saying, it's small things like being transparent.
Yes.
It's just
I
like that
love-
that transparency, communication. It's just
Because it provides safety and
Yeah.
it doesn't cost any. Yeah.
I think a transparent company is likely to last long.
yeah,
If
absolutely.
you're asking us to take a pay cut and we understand, and then we discover you didn't take a pay cut,
Oh, exactly,
I think so.
exactly.
Yeah.
that's going to be a
Yeah.
problem. Or you discover the person who does the list in the company or the team earns
And the most, yeah.
Then you're
Yes.
like, what?
What? Yeah.
So it's about the values, but I think like the thing about values, and you do it because it is you.
Yeah.
And even if you're not making money,
And
you
those are your
still-
values being
Exactly.
brought into the company.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which company it is. I read this article many years back where they just went and published everyone's salary and put it on a notice
But I
board.
don't think that's absurd. Like I think more Kenyan companies should be doing that.
So if you see this guy
salary
earning,
transparency is very
Yeah. If
if you
important.
see this guy earning 5 times than you, it's because he grinds. So if you want to earn that money, you can see his influence, you can see his work ethic and everything he does. But because we have a lot of dead weight, especially in big companies, you realize there's somebody who does the list and takes home, and then you realize why. That's why
I think maybe I'll put it like differently. Let's say like it's uncomfortable to have difficult conversations, and
Yes,
in
it
most
is
cases,
true.
to avoid having the difficult conversations, we just mask it. And so it might well be that there was a very good reason that person A was earning more than person B, but we didn't have the good English to describe this to person C who was like sitting next to them. It might, so I'm just like assuming there was a good reason. Sometimes there isn't. And so over time, it just becomes convenient to continue doing what we've always done before. I mean, in tech, the tech equivalent is no one is ever fired for buying Oracle. And in a similar way, if we've always been masking everybody's salary, why am I going to
Yeah.
show it? And so all that convenience, avoiding difficult conversations means over time,
It will.
you have a lot of this, what you're calling the dead weight.
Dead weight, yeah.
And the good thing with startups, it's not because they decide to be deliberately open or deliberately innovative. I just think they don't have a lot of dead weight.
and
but
they don't have a
they
lot of
live-
choice to.
Yeah. But
I
I mean,
think it's more about
I think
the
you're
game.
underestimating how transparent you are. Like honestly, I think there are not as many startups, especially in the Kenya ecosystem, who are as transparent as you have described. And I mean, I can even attest to you as a person. You're very open. This is someone you call LinkedIn and they're willing to meet you and tell you everything around like their growth. That was you. Like, not very many people are that open. So I think you should actually like be very proud and hold that, highly.
And I think we need a lot more of that.
Exactly.
'Cause,
Yeah.
When people bring their, bring themselves to the workplace, and they don't get, we don't reciprocate
Yeah.
by similarly creating an organization that welcomes them,
Yep.
invites them. Everybody is at work for at least 8 hours a day.
Yep, long time.
They spend more hours at work
Than at home.
with their families. So
Yeah.
if you can make this like a very welcoming place, people bring themselves a lot more over here. And if you're doing a creative enterprise, that's even more
It's more important.
important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Completely. Okay, guys, we don't even know what Zeraki does.
That's so
And we're like, tell us about Zeraki.
Yes. So Zeraki, we do two main things. So if you are a student in high school, or if I know the students in high school are not listening to this,
They might be.
Hey, maybe.
they might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 60% of the high school report cards in Kenya are processed on Zeraki. So when you receive either a text message from school or a report card, it's probably printed on Zeraki. We serve about 3.2 million students across Africa, not just in Kenya.
Yep.
9 other countries, both Francophone and Anglophone. And the second thing we do is a digital learning platform, Zeraki Learning. So you want to study chemistry, physics, biology. You just download Zeraki, watch the videos, take the quizzes. Fantastic. Over 1 million people have used Zeraki Learning.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you come up with this idea?
It's a long-ish story. We talked a lot about equity, so
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like an equity linked thing. So after the 2009 equity story that I talked about, I worked at Equity Foundation
nice.
when we were building Wings to Fly. And I was in charge of the developing like the mentorship and the leadership component for the Wings to Fly program, and two key problems that we were solving. One, as the program scaled, we needed to find software that would help us manage the student information and just be able to tabulate, analyze the student performance data, or a student information system. And for something that's not such rocket science, it was a surprise for us that
It's
we had
hard
to go to India to get a student information system for us to use. And then the second problem was, how do you support students who are falling behind in class? And in 2010, 2011, we'll remember it was still the good old days when we had holiday tuition.
Yeah.
And then we had Mutula Kilonzo become the cabinet secretary for education, and he outlawed it, criminalized holiday tuition. So as a program like Equity, we were like, how would you support the students who
are
the
falling
fly
behind.
students who are falling behind? And we started exploring the use of technology. And that's when we realized we didn't have a video-based learning platform that students could use if they were falling behind in class. So when I left Equity in 2014, those are the two key ideas that we ended up solving for with Zeraki. One, coming up with a school management system, and not just to help manage the whole process, manage the data, but we deliberately called it Zeraki Analytics. Our goal was to bring the power of business analytics and intelligence into the schooling sector. So if I'm a school leader, I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I'm able to have these intuitive dashboards that will give me all this information about whether it's my child, a student in my class, or my school. So Zeraki Analytics pioneered mobile-first, cloud-based school management system. And that's pretty much like why we've spread to over 6,000 schools in Kenya.
All the way up to Turkana, right?
Turkana, Mandera, Mfangano. I know there's like an island in the coast. I know it's beyond 3 hours away from Lamu. Yeah, like literally 3 hours away from Lamu. So it's pretty much everywhere in Kenya.
Okay.
Yes.
3 hours from Lamu, that you're in Somalia.
No, I don't know whether it's Pate or something like that. No, but you're not yet in.
Yeah, Pate is next to Lamu. There, maybe 30 minutes boat or something like that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and because like we have like a large team, it's like some of these stories you hear them like, oh yeah, when you're going over there, you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. There's only one boat that goes out, so if you've not finished up with the 6 schools that's over there, you have to stay overnight and wait for the next boat that's going to come the next morning. So really fantastic stories from the team that I'm talking about. And I guess, no, I don't want to go back to the culture thing, but it just like talks about why it's important to have like someone who's passionate about this and just like have this self-efficacy that no one's going to be supervising them, but they're going to wake up every morning
And
just
do
like,
it, get it done.
Do it.
What I like is you have boring tech. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't,
It's like, oh yes.
yeah, you don't have AI. You don't have blockchain. You don't have Web3.
Maybe they do. He's just not talking about it.
You don't have, what's the new thing?
I
LLMs?
like that. Like we no, the thing, if you think about it, before you get to the LLMs, I mean, we utilizing LLM right now to build like chatbots for our, I mean, the B2C side of our business, the digital learning platform, for instance. We realize we just don't have the the call center capability to serve all those people. So if we can have a lot of self-serve capability, so yes, we're building that, and maybe in another 3 months we'll have that in place. But I think like what most African tech startups are doing is the first layer of digitalization for all these businesses, and that's necessarily walking business. So all 6,800 schools that are using Zeraki, someone has walked to those schools one at a time to pitch this solution to them, in many cases several times. And that initial... No,
I know, sales, you do 7, 8. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
there's some schools like 8 years.
That's a sales cycle.
Kenya High, I think Kenya High, we approached them for the first time in 2018 or something like that. And they signed up last year.
Whoa,
We're that patient.
that's patience.
We just
Keep
go.
reminding.
Keep reminding.
Making
keep
sales for
talking.
B2B is is it the lead time or the closing time?
It's
It's usually insane.
No, in some cases it just takes like a conversation.
Yeah.
So I remember when I went to pitch to Mangu, my alma mater. I mean, it helps that I was a former student. I think in 2 minutes, the principal was like, "Oh yeah, I've got it. When can we start?" So yeah, we've had those cases where it just like so fast, but then we've also had like the really long cases. So when you talk about like the boring tech, it's true. The first layer of digitalization doesn't tend to be rocket science.
True.
But you end up needing to educate the whole ecosystem for everybody else who's going to come after you.
And make a lot of money.
No money. Anybody who's doing the first generation of digitalization, it's essentially like a fast mover disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because you're the one who needs to train the ecosystem. I mean, think about us. We were doing a mobile first cloud-based subscription platform. So first, we're moving you from your computer to your phone.
Yeah.
We're moving you from offline to online.
Yeah.
We're moving you from a one-off payment to a subscription. And we had to develop the language for doing this with everyone. Like, wait, you mean my data is not going to be in the school? Like, yeah, just like WhatsApp. Wait, what if it goes down? I mean, you know the way WhatsApp doesn't go down? Even for us, we would go down. But then now means on the tech side, the tech had to be built such that it works like WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And because we wanted to serve the whole country, we also had to ensure that the same way WhatsApp will work with a 2G connection is the same way Zeraki Analytics will work with a 2G connection. So it's like really light. So when you go over there, so if you think about all of that, I think the third thing I would like to mention about WhatsApp, because that's what was a really good inspiration to us, our parents will struggle with doing email on their phone.
Yeah.
But they'll never struggle with WhatsApp on
Sending
their phone.
a message.
Both,
and sending memes and forwards. Yeah, it's true.
exactly. Both platforms are communication platforms. What's the difference? UX. So if you design a great UX, if you design tech that is quite robust, that it doesn't go down, if you do the legwork, and then all these fast mover disadvantages, you're still able to come up with like a repeatable business model. It took us a long time to break even. So it's everybody who's doing this first layer of digitalization will agree that it is not easy.
It's not easy.
Across the board.
Are you like the top edtech in Kenya or like Africa? Do you want to claim it?
I mean, in our space, like in Africa, we're trying to be modest and have been looking for someone who's bigger than us, but we haven't found them.
You're the one.
Where do you get your content, your video content?
So it's not the videos we build in, but I mean, just first talking about like the school management systems, I would say like outside government run systems.
Yeah.
So where, let's say, the government has a school management system that they're implementing across all schools in the country, there isn't like a private sector company that we know of
That's doing what you're
that's
doing.
doing what we're doing. Probably the next one that we know of has maybe half the number of schools, and you're talking like it's in Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
We're looking
it's been
out for
pretty
you.
good.
Thank you. Okay. So for the BTC learning system, you create your own videos, the
Yes.
content.
Yes, we do. So we
Okay.
work with teachers. The teachers develop the curriculum content.
Okay.
We take it through the KCD
Oh, so it's
review.
certified?
Yes, so KCD certified.
Okay.
Yes.
What does Zeraki mean?
So Zeraki, it was inspired by a Greek word meraki. So meraki,
Okay.
doing something with passion, like
Yeah.
put your everything into it. And by that time, we already had Cisco Meraki, and I think other Merakis. So like, okay, did the somewhat lazy thing, replace the M
With a Z.
with a Z,
Flip
and
it.
it's Zeraki. It was so unique.
Yeah.
Did you raise funding?
We have, and we've been so fortunate. So for the first, I think 6 years of our company's time, we got a lot of funding Kenyan-wise from from friends and family. So we
Okay.
raised about 30 million shillings.
Kenyan shillings,
Kenyan
yeah.
shillings.
You have rich friends. In fact.
No, I have many friends who believed in us.
Oh, yeah.
And no, some of it's like really heartwarming.
I find
so,
that's the hardest thing. Getting even hey.
But they call you up for drinks, but they won't come
they
up to
would.
your.
We've been so lucky. I think I mean, granted, our cup table ended up having so many people. It's probably by the time we were through with the 30 million, it was probably like 30 people. No, more like 40 people on a cup table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have
So it was like
you have a great network.
You really do.
This is why you need to go to Manly.
Yeah, exactly. Then, Mahmoud.
No, but I think it's more like investing in friendships, investing in like your network, and being fortunate. So I think like some of the people that I like to highlight who invested. I said that I worked at Equity. I was running their post high school mentorship program, and it's heartwarming. I think about 3 of our investors were people who were joining campus in 2011, 2012, went through campus, and then in 2017, 18, while still in their first jobs, they're like, "Oh, you're working on that? I'd love to come in." So I think yes, there's just like a
Goodwill.
goodwill, participating in all these communities. I talked about, like, let's say the Harvard Club of Kenya, the Mangu alumni community, the equity community, the equity scholars. So I build like a lot of relationships. But I think like it's very, and a lot of people struggle to get funding from whether it's family or friends. And even in the lead up to this conversation, I was going to talk about how we don't have like a well-developed angel network in Kenya.
That's so true.
And then I thought about, wait, but I've got all these angels. So there must be something that we did that other people can also do.
Yeah.
And
What
I
did you
think,
do?
Like, I think like valuing relationships, being very open, very, very candid with them. I don't know. There's just like something, I think it's more cultural, not willingness. There is a willingness. Because a lot of the people, you describe your business to them, and they'll be the one like, "Are you raising money?
But I'd trust
May I
you with my
put in
money.
Something."
But I've also trusted other people my money as well.
Oh, really?
But anyway.
Okay. I'll tell you when I'm raising.
Yeah, I'll get kidogo. I'll give you a bit. I want in on
yeah.
this. Yeah.
No, but I think like it's important to tell these stories because
Yeah.
on the two levels. I mean, it tells entrepreneurs that it's possible to get
Yeah.
local angels. There are trade-offs that I'll talk about in a moment. But second, it also recognizes the silent angels who putting in money into these early stage startups and their work never gets highlighted.
Yeah.
That said, the real trade-off for us was that we had to accept a higher dilution because, yeah, exactly. You're not going to raise the small ticket sizes. It was as little as, I think the lowest size for us was 100. No, I think it was 250,000 shillings. So you're not going
The smallest.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is high in Kenyan terms. But I mean, if you're thinking about it from a dollar perspective, you'll be, that's just $2,500. But
Hey,
it's a lot.
that's
like
a lot of money to give
250,000
some. Yeah,
shillings.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of trust that is embedded in that, and that we need to recognize it. Now, if you think about it from the funding landscape, where early stage startups will raise at, I don't know, $5 million valuation, $10 million valuation. No, we didn't need, we couldn't do that. I think we started at $1 million or something like that. So there's a lot more dilution. But the flip is that because the people who knew us, they were a lot more patient with us.
Absolutely.
So when we needed to to pivot from one product idea to another, when our timelines ended up being 4 years before getting, actually I think it was 3 years before getting product market fit, they were patient with us because they knew that we were putting in the effort. But had we run into institutional funding within the first few years,
You wouldn't be here.
we wouldn't be here.
Is the 30 million the only amount you ever raised?
No. So we raised a $1.8 million seed round in 2021.
Ah, okay. And so you
Wait, was it 2021? No,
Hey,
2022.
20
Yes.
Oh, that's just recent.
Yes.
And then so the initial investors exited.
Oh, no.
Still,
All our investors are still around.
still there.
Okay. I thought that would take the opportunity to exit and say, like, you've raised, I'll sell off my shares.
They're happy.
Yeah.
They're happy to help with the journey. And I think the third thing to say is because we've been very involved, we've given them an opportunity to be very involved with us. So it means.
How is that? How have you done that?
How have you done that?
Yeah, especially like your local angels. How have you done that? And when you're saying local, would you consider Naiban to be a local angel? Like,
Yes.
okay, cool.
So we got like investment from Naiban during our seed round.
Yeah.
Because I think in 2015 Naiban wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so whether it's like the investors who came in during our seed stage or who came during our very angel stage, literally, we frequent conversations with them. And so let's say whether it's like a regular monthly coffee or so on, and then specific requests for help. And one of the things we did from the very beginning was just like saying everybody's contribution matters. So if let's say like you have an angel who's a lawyer and we go asking for advice from them, we'll be like, we're not going to pay you because when we go to the next person to ask them for business advice, we're also not going to ask to pay them. So we have a lot of the angels that we got in our network who'd volunteer their time, their capability, and it could be even something like, oh, we need a car to go to Mombasa. I have this car that I'm not using for the whole week. You can have it for the week. So there's just like that intense level of involvement across the board from most of the investors that we have. We really didn't have a
Maybe you should write a book
investor.
about this. Or just like zero in on it.
that.
Because like it's really, I don't think it's good for the Kenya ecosystem, how there's a lot of, I think raising VC money has become like what they're aiming for.
Yes.
And that is not patient money. And that is why these startups will not see the light like Zeraki has. So I think like having more conversations about this, just like speaking more about it. And also I'll help other people be like, you know what, I can also,
But he
add to what
didn't get a
Wangari is
Mercedes
saying.
Benz, and then
No, that's why they gave him money, Chris, and not you.
Oh, yeah.
Range Rover.
I think there's also another level of validation that local angels bring into the whole ecosystem because these are people
absolutely.
who know you, people you feel indebted to.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's like a certain layer of distance of removal from someone who's not like in the country.
Local,
Like
yeah.
if it's your friend and you know your friend sweated all this to give you the 250,000 shillings, it's not $2,500. It is 250,000, and you know how much a plot of land
that's
costs.
a lot. You can do a lot
You're
with
like,
it, yeah.
I'm going to put in everything to make sure that this is.
But I think you also like, I mean, as I said, I've invested as well money, but it's just like, I don't think I get the respect that you say that you get.
Really?
Well, no, I don't. So I think it's like, it would be good to know what good looks like. Who should I, like, I can like the idea.
Yes.
And if someone honestly came and showed me an idea, I'm like, okay, that would be good. I'm happy to put in some money, but like sometimes when things are not working well, people don't know how to communicate that or like, and that's the fear of giving someone money.
Yeah.
They're asking you when it's very nice, and then you don't know, will I ever hear from them again? And I think that's the fear of like, lack of transparency that you may have as a local investor.
No, absolutely. And I think like it's one of those things where the transparency. I know we talked about it earlier on, transparency within the company, but there's a like outward facing transparency. How transparent are you with your investors, even when things are, in fact, when things are going on wrong? There's a difference between waiting until things have blown up or waiting until you've solved whatever gaps you have, to, let's say, keeping someone constantly updated on what's going on, including the things that you're not sure about. And this is something that's really, let's say, critical. When talking about like employees, we talk about when you're hiring for, or rather when you're creating a culture, you also hire for people who are going to fit for that culture. So if you intend to be open with your investors, you sure need to be very deliberate about who those investors are going to be.
Yeah.
So there's like that selection. There's some money that you're just like, you know what, even if they give me money,
I wouldn't
I'm not going
take it.
Yeah, I wouldn't take
for
it.
Sure.
And then everybody who you take money from, in our case, we're really fortunate. There are people we could actually be open with.
Very real with, yeah.
Very real with.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with something, you tell.
Yeah.
And if they see an opportunity, they'll tell. I mean, the thing that's coming top of mind right now, when we're doing our fundraising, I'd never fundraised before. I didn't know what it entails, but we had a lot of, at least like 3 or 4 of our angels who'd been in that space, and they'll just like walk you through the whole thing. Okay, when it comes to doing your term sheets, here's what you need to watch out for. Here's what you need to think about. I mentioned let's like some of our angels who are lawyers, and they'll be like, oh, you're trying to get this agreement. Okay, I'll give you this officer in my, or rather in our firm to help you with all this documentation. But there's just like that level of transparency, because the understanding is if we're open enough with them and they know each other, whatever investor A knows, investor B is going to know. And if you're transparent, there's no need to worry about that. And I think sometimes trying to be protective or trying to only communicate positive information means that we end up hiding a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And that necessarily then snowballs into having bad relationships within our investment ecosystem. So yeah, I think the more we talk about this, the more we're able to hopefully have other people share their experiences as well. Because I think like in so much as we have a lot of trust deficit in our ecosystem, there's also a lot of trusted relationships in our ecosystems. And if we highlight those, then we empower the people who are doing the right thing.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like this is one of the easier startups. Easier from the point of how it's set up, how everything runs. I feel like other startups, when you get VC money, it's like raising money from the mafia. And the mafia comes and checks, did you make any sale today? You need to make any sale and say like, yes, we did. And you inflate your numbers or you present a different image. And then at some point, it's like, this thing is not working. And the first thing is they throw you out as a CEO and replace you with somebody that they can direct how they do. And I feel like what you describe as the openness, you would not end up in that situation where they're like, we need to replace you as the...
And that's why you'd invest in him. Even if someone listening to this would be like, if you guys ever need to raise, they'd be like, as I said, me, I'd be like, for sure.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, that's one. It might not be much, but
Chris?
definitely. Chris?
I wish I had that kind of money.
If he had money, he would.
If I had that kind of money, I'll be very happy. Pretty see. Once we get super thanks from
don't forget to donate to us, everyone. Support us, the link's there.
We will use some of that super thanks to invest in companies like this if you get big enough super thanks.
But you just have to add something else. It also costs to build a business like this. And I mean,
it costs.
It costs a lot. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I lived in the... we started the company in my apartment, my co-founder and I, Eric. So Eric and I started the company in our apartment in 2015. Yeah. And so between 2015 and I think mid-2019, we left that apartment when 16 people couldn't fit in the sitting room. Like,
but then you need to go visit his office. Like, there's all those pictures there.
Yeah, so we had like 16 people. We had like, I think like 4 desks or so. And then when people come into the office during the holiday, because a lot of our sales team is countrywide, so they'll come into the office. There wasn't even there was just standing room. So you leave your shoes in the outside, just come in because no one's going to clean these
But I
up.
like that.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's the grind. That's like you're managing your expenses.
Yeah, but it was like, okay, so that was like, yeah, absolutely. So you're
Yeah.
able to be very frugal. So it also boils into the kind of like money that you're receiving.
Yeah.
Because if you're receiving like a small ticket, then you have to stretch it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then move from that's in 2019 to mid 2022, where we're in a mixed commercial residential place.
Yeah.
So this time around, we had an office, but to cut costs, I was now living in one of the bedrooms in the. So literally, for the first, I don't know how many years that is.
How do you
I
manage
was
private
living.
matters?
No, you don't have. No, there was no private matters. Because
He's
this is office
building
space.
the company, Chris.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
And I think like there's a lot of people who go through this.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes like giving a lot of spotlight to visa-funded companies. I think the majority of really successful Kenyan companies, startups,
like you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I believe-
saw your
and they
favorite
don't
startup.
have-
I saw their office. I'm like, you spend all this money on this like really fancy office chapter. I was like, ridiculous.
You need a ping pong table.
Why do you need that? What do you need a fancy office
Motivate people.
Nah.
Keep them in nice moods and to get them working.
for? Nah.
I think
Bro.
it's the whole. I think we swallowed the whole American exhibitionism.
All of
Yeah,
us have swallowed it.
exhibitionism.
Yes,
I'll
we're
follow
like, we just raised 5 billion Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
We're the top dog.
No, but I
you
actually
know.
think a vast majority of Kenyan startups are built by people who just focused on building and they don't spend time
absolutely. You know,
talking.
Yeah. I mean,
And they
exactly.
build it exactly the
True,
same way.
and you know and it's a glad that I never knew about you until today.
Yeah.
Because there's this saying that once your CEO is on YouTube and everywhere else on TV and other things, start looking for another job, because
Oh my goodness, please scrap this from YouTube.
No, not this one. Not Startup
no,
Soko.
the thing
Ask
was
her.
that
Yeah.
when you're busy,
No, if you see it on Forbes.
when you're busy, top 50 under 30, and all those kind of things, it's like a dialed-in CEO is busy solving his company's problems, that he does not have time to go out there and even market the company, because 90% of your problems are internal.
Oh,
They are
absolutely, that's true.
figuring your tech,
Yeah.
product market fit, hiring, salaries being paid, and all that things
And that's
happening.
really boring work
Yes.
Yeah.
and tedious
Yep.
and takes
And not
so
sexy.
much time.
But
At
giving
all.
a TED talk about how you're revolutionizing whatever agriculture or schools in the world, that's glamour. That's
Yep.
exhibitionism. That's the thing where you just raised $1 billion, and then you are on Forbes, and then you're in TED talk and all that. That's I like calling it the celebrity CEO. Right?
Yep.
So when you spend more time
Isaac is definitely not the celebrity.
out there,
I had to beg him to come on here. Like, please.
you
No,
might
she was
forget.
very subtle about it. So she first came, can I visit? I'm like, yes. And then she
I
enjoys.
hope you took videos.
No, it's the thing. I did now. Like, you're going to visit someone the first time. You're just over there.
Yeah.
What manners are those, Chris?
Producer,
She was
you
very
let us
well
down.
mannered.
No, it was a private visit. I just went to see him at first, just to talk to him. and then-
Convince him.
Not to convince, also to listen, to hear about. Because I mean,
be
a
strategic
startup
about the convincing.
in Turukana. To me, that's already. I'm like,
Tech for bandits.
no, and then there's schools. I'm just like, this is real. This is serious. This is a serious
Yeah,
business.
But I respect that grinding, that frugality, that keeping it small as necessary to keep everything moving.
And the culture that he
Yeah,
brings into the company.
I think a lot of companies that would survive in the next 10, 20 years would be that
This
type
kind of
companies who would have great stories about raising, and then 5 years, they'll all fizzle. And people forget about how building a company is a very stressful work. And
It is.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and-
what I love about what you're doing is when founders are building, they rely on various models. So that's why I've spoken about, let's say, like Netflix, maybe spoken about Andy Grove. I mean, also like an American company. But for me, I was really fortunate to not just. I mean, I read stuff about equity, but I actually worked in equity, which I also like for me, really fantastic company, and all this stuff, for instance, talking about culture. I mean, I first experienced it even when I was very skeptical that it would work. And that means that when you building, you have a mental model that you can use to quickly ideate, quickly figure out what to do. And some people like me will be really fortunate to work with like amazing, I mean, in my case, work pretty closely with James Wang. So I was able to learn a lot from the way he thinks, the way he envisions, the way he builds stuff, the way he structures. And a lot of people actually, their first stopping point will be listening to other entrepreneurs
Yeah.
speak about this. And it's something that I've become a lot more aware of in the last year or two when other companies, I mean, it's easy to say when the company is falling that they fall because they made mistakes, but building a startup is such a high line wire act that you might have been right 300 times and the 301st time you're wrong and you're down. And if we normalize sharing our experiences while we're still in that 300
Yes.
steps, then someone else who's on step, I don't know, 295
Will be like-
is able to avoid the potential mistake that you avoided in step number 298 or something
Yeah,
like that. And I think it's just like a really critical component of building an ecosystem that works for everyone. So that's something that a phase that I'm becoming more passionate about. So it's not about like saying, "Oh, hey, we're here because we know what to do and we have all the
no,
answers."
you just-
It's more like to say, "This is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it."
and this is
you
why
might
we're
listen to it and say like, "Oh, that's silly," and you're like, "Oh, that's also okay because you have something that you can model against."
Yeah.
Because you can say like, "I know they do that, but we don't want to be."
Yeah,
that."
we can do something different.
Yeah, so that's okay. Yeah.
So I'm assuming James Mwangi is a real inspiration and to you and like everything that you.
I think is one of the most fantastic Kenyan entrepreneurs we've had.
Absolutely, I
I just
agree.
don't think we have critical stories that have been written of Kenyan businessmen or Kenyan politicians or whatever. You know, the kind of Walter Isaacson book on Elon Musk that it's not just like telling Elon Musk did this and that, but you're able to glean insights that you can draw from it, figure out what you can do. I mean, one of the best books that I've read, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Ben Horowitz. Yes, it's like autobiographical, but the insight is so it's distilled in a way that's like, wow, so if I'm in this position, if I'm in this situation, this is the kind of insight or perspective that I can use to make this kind of decision. We don't have such books in Kenya, whether they're autobiographies, whether they're like written from a business perspective. So for me, if there was like one such book that was written in Kenya that I will definitely buy, it's James Mwangi's. I'm fortunate that I worked with him. So I was able to glean out a lot of this just like through that experience.
But no one will buy the book. That's an unfortunate bit.
A few people would.
The publishers in Kenya
Yeah.
will do politician books because politics is everywhere.
No, but I think like there's a long conversation around that. Let's say like when you go to the university in Kenya, I know there's a lot of universities that teach Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship. I mean, why should they not read stories of Kenyan
They
entrepreneurs?
should. I just think publishers would not find it. They have to
No,
invest
so
in.
it's like those books already exist, but why don't the universities use them? Okay, I've not been to Kenyan University, but I'm just like guessing that if the books are selling just like a handful of copies, it means like even within our educational ecosystem, we're not utilizing them. But you go to the US and those business leaders, even without PhDs, they're allowed to, I mean, they will teach courses in their best universities. Their books will be prescribed readings
Yeah.
for those. So we've just haven't created that ecosystem that will support this. So I applaud the guys who've already done their autobiographies, written their books, and I just hope the ecosystem can also build from that.
We have a lot of problem with that. We do because I remember a while back, University X.
Yes.
I was to teach, and someone read something that I had put online, and like, hey, we need you over here. And then they discovered I don't have a master's degree.
Yeah,
And they said
yeah.
it's mandatory for you to teach to have a master's degree. But I was like, I have enough experience
Yeah.
to counter moving more than a master's degree, but because they're still tied into, is it a statutory requirement that for you to teach you have to have a master's degree?
I think those are the kind of like systemic blockers that we need to work
Chris, you know, you can
and
get someone
push
to
back on.
do your master's degree and pay for them. In 2024, send money.
Why would I need a master's degree so that
Just so that you can have that piece of paper.
so I can end up being a lecturer?
No, but I think like,
You love to lecture, so maybe.
No, I like to lecture what I have researched myself. I don't want to be given a
Yeah.
textbook and told
Go and
teach about calculus 101.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess anything else that you
My
wanted
last
to add
question-
or as a question? Yeah.
Last question was, you mentioned that the past 2 years have not been profitable.
yes,
So are you profitable now this year, or are you in the path to profitability?
it's like one of those things where you don't want to jinx it.
I know.
So yes,
Okay, are things
maybe
going
we
on
come
well?
back on the show like in
Are
a
things
few
going on
months.
well?
Things are going well this year. Yeah.
Good. And they will continue going well.
Yes.
Speak it.
Speak it and claim it.
Yes, manifest. Manifest it. I think definitely. I mean, I'm betting on you.
Thank
I roll
you.
the dice on
Thank
you.
you.
And you even you better know.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
the thing I like about boring tech is if you have that groundwork or the
Stop
footwork.
calling it boring. I'm
I like
even
it because-
feeling.
No, boring. I think that's actually the. I mean, I'll go with him. I'll say
Okay.
like it's really,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
like great
guys.
work because I think like engineering is boring. It's
Yeah, no,
boring
it is.
work, and I think one of those criticism I'll have about like our tech space is
They make it look like amazing.
yeah we like flashy stuff.
Yeah.
But real engineering is like the tedious grunt work that's incremental, repetitive over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think like as a Kenyan culture, we love corners, you know? If it's like, oh, there are 10 steps. I mean, a very good Kenyan will be like, do we have to do
Do
that
the
10
10
steps?
steps? Can
They're
we
like,
do-
yeah, we have to. Okay, is someone watching? And we're like, yes, someone is watching.
How AI will blow students' minds. Let's have a seminar on
Exactly.
how.
But if you want to build something, I mean, you'll have to just like be that deliberate step A, step B, step C. And that comes when it comes to training people, building fundamental core work that doesn't break.
yeah.
And so it's something that I would say we're rowing uphill on this.
I think we don't have in every take AI for example. Everyone's talking about AI, blah blah blah. And ask anyone, what AI product have we built in Kenya?
Yeah.
For AI to work in the US and other countries, they need data. They need
And
people.
there's a lot of grant work
Yeah,
to get to
eh,
that level.
I remember when NLP was a thing, there was a grant that was given to university to annotate newspapers.
Yeah.
And they did this for almost 4 years. Just boring work. You go to like Nation Media Group, you get access to their whole archive of like 60 years
And then
newspapers.
yeah.
And then someone said that's like, this is a verb, this is an adverb. That's what is building the LLMs right now, all that well annotated data set. But for us, we're not doing that boring, slow, steady building work. If you ask, do you have any Kiswahili corpus? Right now, it's ChatGPT pulling whatever they can from social media, Wikipedia, and all that to rebuild it for us. And we want the glitz, we want the glamour, but that step-by-step boring work that you have to do, the
Absolutely.
building blocks, we don't have it.
So yeah, it's grant work, it's boring, it's deliberate, but I think boring is cool.
Absolutely.
That's
Boring,
it.
boring lasts.
Boring last. Yes.
Always, yeah. Boring
Payroll
lasts.
systems still run on
Absolutely.
COBOL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to those government green and white, do you know you've seen those government payslips?
Yeah.
You've never seen them?
No.
They're like green, on a green and white paper and then typed it with a dot matrix
Yeah.
printer. They run on COBOL.
Yeah.
They've never, COBOL doesn't have viruses. It runs on a machine. And they've been printing payslips since 1950. They were left by the British.
Don't break it.
Anything else you wanted to add, Isaac?
I
Just, your startup.
Is there? No.
But again, thank you so much for agreeing to come on set, talking about your experience. As I said, I truly really respect what you're doing with Zeraki, the way your team. I actually do think it's the happiest startup in Africa. I've never met any happier people than those. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure our viewers have learnt a lot. And yeah, remember to support us and hit that subscribe button. And yeah, we look forward to bringing you more amazing founders.
Wait, did I say something? A shout out to like all the
course.
amazing Zeraki team members who make this possible.
Of course.
All right, today
This is your chance.
Is this one here?
That one.
Oh, that one. No, you guys are amazing. Like
You are.
to have like a team that you can fight with every single day, like we've done the last 10 years. Incredible. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
Peace
now I'm done.
out.
Amazing. Thank you.